What up, TikTok? Hey, hope everybody's having a great Friday. Hey, don't let anything that's negative in your life dictate the rest of your life. Does that make sense? Hey, we all go through some hard times. We all go through some emotional stressors, maybe at work, maybe at home, whatever it may be. Don't let that dictate who you are and how you react to the rest of the things that life throws at you. Does that make sense? Like if you're feeling pissed off and angry all morning or all day, you're going to take that energy and you're going to present it to everybody else that surrounds you, your loved ones, your soldiers, whoever it may be. You're going to use that negative energy and it's just going to make everything worse. Try to be positive. Pick something positive in life that's going really well. Use that positive energy and let that dictate the rest of your day. We can harp on the negatives. We can harp on the bad things that are going on in life. It's not going to help us. It's not going to help us move forward. Stay strong, keep pushing, drive on. Happy Friday.
What's up, Trash Talkers? Hitting you up this morning with a special promo on how to dress when you are doing PT in civilians, but you want everybody to know you're an Army. This comes from the Buddy Beckwith fashion design of how to work out. So first, you can notice the RI panties. Not Ranger panties, but Ranger instructor panties. The green socks, the knee brace for the old guys. Don't forget the M frames. Now the shirt, don't wear the Trash Talk shirt while you're running. This is just for the promo. You want to put on like an 80-second shirt or like your favorite airborne shirt so everybody knows that you're a veteran. That's the most important thing. And you start with this stretch. Buddy Beckwith taught me this one. Ready to go.
So, I'm walking out of the gas station and my co-worker, who's an old MP, but we still claim him, and has engaged the man in conversation. Not much for conversation with strangers, but he's got the tab. So as I walk by, I say airborne, and the man responds with, and I quote, "Hoorah." So after I instructed my coworker to slash every single tire before he put the car in gear, I look for the biggest rock. As I crow hop to throw it through his back window so he can stop posing as one of us, I actually wake up and realize that the man's ignorance had incapacitated me for a moment, and I was daydreaming. I mean, because in that moment you got two options. I chose the third option and said, "Incorrect. That's an incorrect response." And I kept walking. The man said nothing and he pulled away. So you tell me, what is it, a stolen valor thing? No Marine's gonna have an airborne tab, and no paratrooper's gonna say hidden hoorah. So you tell me, stolen valor?
Hey y'all, I'm going to work. I left you a note on the refrigerator. I love y'all. I'm gonna go.
Hey, go get dressed. Get ready for school.
You're doing great. I was tooling around, tooling along. Shit! Bad guy! Stop!
Let me break it down Barney style.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Ventura Training and Athletics. Restore, train, maintain. Specializing in the restoration of the muscular system to help you move and feel better. Combating TBI, PTSD, and pain through specialized strength training. Again, get your body right, get your mind right, defeat the demons.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, Joe, and Buddy. Today's special guests are Dr. Vallis and Justin. None of them are airborne, but we'll still talk to them.
My name is Lee Walker, a proud alumni of the Save a Warrior program. I spent several years in the days of drugs, and recklessness, which eventually led me to the breaking point. I wanted to end it all. This program has given me a new lease on life. It's helped me regain control of my life. Without Save a Warrior and these people, I doubt I would be typing this because I'd be dead. You helped save me.
I had gone to visit this young active duty soldier, and he was in a bad way. And he was representative of hundreds of thousands of returning veterans who had come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and very quickly were beginning to deteriorate and melt down and struggle to reintegrate. And for some reason, it occurred to me, I can solve that problem. Taking someone who is coming in like this, and 5.5 days later is like, what was I thinking? My God. We were looking at a generation coming back at risk of losing Holocaustal numbers to suicide. There were no systems in place to receive the moral injuries that come home with people who've been in foreign lands, killing, seeing others killed, seeing privation, living in, unspeakable conditions for periods of time.
We found hope that we now have each other. We now understand love, purpose greater than self, and above all else, people care about us.
I wanted to take somebody and move them into a metaphorical container where time is not linear, where people could experience not ordinary states of consciousness, access their own internal adaptive mechanisms, and it happened. But we were doing this out of the trunk of my car on a shoestring budget for the first 3 years. It wasn't until the 4th year where we really hockey sticked some fundraising.
I've never experienced anything like that in my 10 plus years of searching for meaning or purpose.
So the growth over the last year has been exponential. We have grown more in the past year than the first 5 years. We will have our own facility where we can double our capacity, triple our capacity. It'd be a year-round operation, substantially reduce our costs per warrior. Getting it to a place where it could ultimately be looked at, where institutions of higher learning, institutions of mental health and hygiene say that is legitimate for a certain portion of this patient population.
There's not another program out there like Save a Warrior. I trusted their process, and I still do, and I never would have had this opportunity to learn how to retake my life back if it was not for your caring support to the SAW program.
Change happens in a quantum moment, and you see the person shift right in front of you, right? It never gets old, but at some point you do come to expect somebody presencing themselves and saying, you know what, my life is at stake. I've got to express this. I've got to say what I've done. I got to say who I am.
My time in Malibu was one of the most amazing experiences in my life. By the end of the 5.5 days, the dramatic change from near catatonic detachment to a laughing, smiling, exuberant group was incredibly unbelievable. You saved my life and the lives of all 10 of my new friends, and one of the greatest gifts I have ever received. Because of you, I am alive.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are back. Welcome to episode 47 of the Trash Talk Hour. Shout out to our sponsors, Ventura Training and Athletics, Zach Farkas, and 10th Mountain Whiskey. Type in VTT and get yourself a discount. Our special guest today is Justin from Save a Warrior and Objective Zero. We also have licensed psychologist Dr. Vallis on the show and EOD officer Travis. And as always, I'm joined by Nick, Buddy, and Joe. Over to you, Buddy. Let's get this party started.
Hey everybody, so today's Honesty Cap. First of all, I'm in the middle of an Arby's, so I can't be super duper loud.
Where's the beef?
Way to prepare. It's right here. It's in my little French dip sandwich. That being said, that time of year.
I was in a gay porn called French Dip.
How many gay porns did you do? Because you mentioned another one. Meat Mountain.
Don't worry about it.
Are all of your gay porns done in an Arby's? Also,
We'll talk about that after the show, buddy. We'll talk about that after the show.
Buddy's about to be asked to leave the Arby's.
Hey, I was already threatened with getting charged with sexual harassment last week for telling a fellow.
Let's not go back there.
Anywho,
yeah,
it is. But we've come to that time of year again where it's time for rich white kids to ask their already girlfriend to prom using some crazy promposal. You are the reason people hate you. You're the reason that people hate rich people. Because I saw a video the other day of this kid asking his girlfriend to prom. She's already your girlfriend. Who else is she going to go with? You fucking dick.
The
First
football
of all,
star.
they come to, he had a horse brought to, and he asked her as Prince Charming with like all these other people, like dressed as Disney people. Like, it's prom. Why are we getting crazy with promposals? What happened to just saying, hey, girl, so we've been dating. We're trying to, do you want to just go to prom with me? Because it's just this
He
one
said
night.
he brought a horse, though. That's pretty badass, man.
It's not badass. If you have to have, if you have to have a dude holding your horse like you're at a pony ride for children, you are not Prince Charming. You're Prince Douchebag that doesn't even know how to ride a horse. Yeah, you're sitting there. Oh, and your horse is standing on my manicured lawn. Let that horse take a shit. See if I don't kill you and the horse. I swear to God, you will never make it to prom. You jerk off. Anyway, that's my my rant / honesty cap for the day.
Oh man,
On you, Joe.
Oh, what a setup. Thank you for that. You know, I don't have like a real a written out soapbox, but you know, thank Kevin Travers for getting me to the point where I feel I have to give him a couple of pro tips just on what to do, what not to do, which is weird because we're separated by a decade and a half. But Kevin, there's certain things in life that don't mix well in your stomach, even though they sound like a good idea right now. One, you never mix Don Julio tequila with anything but lime and salt, maybe. You never mix it in a cocktail. You mix Cuervo in a cocktail. There was strike one. Okay, that was his margaritas with
choice preference. You know, I don't know.
Well, you don't mix that. Do you mix Glenlivet? Come on. Anyways, two, he posted something about his sushi night, and I'm going there because somebody got sick over this. Okay, and he had to answer for that, but he didn't have any soy sauce. So he put Sweet Baby Ray's special sauce on there. It's mayonnaise mixed with ketchup and maybe some paprika to make it look fancy. That's all it is. On fresh sushi. And why was he surprised somebody got sick from this? And he actually posted it on Facebook. And I said, Kevin, this picture's inappropriate. These are things that you don't mix. So next time, one, get yourself some soy sauce, mix that with wasabi. That's the way it's supposed to be done. Or two, you're a big boy and you don't get any soy sauce. You just eat the sushi. You don't just throw whatever sauce you got on there because you've been mixing $50 tequila with margarita mix. So he learned this the hard way as he's nursing his wife back to health today. Tracy, we hope you feel better. But didn't work out real well. Didn't work out real well at the Travers house. He was playing nurse. So that's my 2 cents on Kevin's Saturday or Friday night. Two, I'm still super stoked over the fact that it's UFC 261 tonight. I cannot wait to see how these picks play out. We're going 5 for 5. So rewatch
got
the
him right here.
Yeah, we're going 5 for 5 tonight, guaranteed. I picked them as soon as the fights came out. It's going. The last time we did this, we went 9 for 9 on the Gaethje Khabib card. So it's happening. And my last point is this. All right. I may be the subject of this little rant, but if you're unhappy in your position and you believe you're capable of something better, the hardest thing to do is bet on yourself and embrace the ambiguity, because a lot of people, like Nick says, are hooked on certainty. But if you believe you're better,
being stagnant.
It's called being stagnant. Don't be swamp water. If you believe that you have the ability to improve your situation, bet on yourself, or you'll never freaking know. You'll never get out of that spot. But take a step forward with what you believe in and see what happens. Because if every idea is a horrible idea when they're not spoken. So have the guts to bet on yourself and watch it pay off. I know that's the easiest thing to say, but I'm about to do it, and I'll get further on that in about a month or two and show y'all what happened. That's true.
Right. Boom. I love that, Joe. Good stuff.
Yeah, I really appreciate it when you quote the Book of Earl. It makes me feel really good about myself.
Admitting you have some good points from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, all the time. So I am going to take Kevin's side on this. All right. And I'm going to go against Buddy's honesty cap as well. I talked in the Book of Earl a few episodes ago about stop being average. Okay. Average people hate when you're successful. So Buddy just hates that this guy has a horse.
Going above and beyond. I think the horse is cool.
Buddy just hates that this guy is better.
You kill yourself and take your medicine, buddy.
Do you know why? Do you know why, Kevin? Do you know why he mixes Don Julio? Because he can, Joe. All right. It's not that big of a dent in his wallet like it is to ours. So
he is still looking at rejection
with it. It wasn't a big dent to that kid's wallet either.
But he is looking at rejection because this happened to him when he was like 10, and he, invited this girl to prom, and she said no. She said no.
Don't blame us for what happened during the Debbie Gibson song at your princess outfits
at 10, and then had them.
Buddy's from Alabama, so he doesn't like when people say white privilege because Buddy's from Alabama, and none of them have any privilege down there. So
true.
They still have dirt roads. You know what I mean? Like
no wolf cookies.
I grew up on a dirt road. Thank you.
My grandparents.
Yeah, we know.
My grandparents still, their road just got paved about 5 years ago.
Dang,
fucking Sherman. Sherman's March fucked everything. Anyways, so I have the great privilege of introducing Justin Miller. Now, those of you who don't know, we have our song, all right, in the beginning, and it makes fun of the guests. All right, so you're not airborne, Justin. It's okay. All right. We actually brought a doctor on here to help you with that. But before we get into that, Justin works for a nonprofit. You saw the video, and it's also Objective Zero. So he's here to tell us about that and hopefully make some money from you guys watching to donate to his cause. And that's something that we do for the VTT. We promote veteran-owned businesses. Anything a veteran does, we'll promote it for free. All right, you should try it sometime. That's what we do. All right, like we try to build everybody else around us. So Justin, tell us about your service, tell us about your nonprofit, and then why you didn't go to airborne school. Go.
I did 11 and a half years in the infantry. Didn't go to airborne school because, didn't really have the opportunity. But got out, and I was medically retired in August of 2014, and just went downhill. Felt like I lost my identity. Felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to. Didn't have all my brothers there every day to vent with, and found myself sitting on the edge of the bed with a pistol in my hand, and I was done. The nightmares were so bad. Sleep was not happening. Couldn't drink it away. Couldn't take enough pills to make all this stuff go away, and couldn't handle it anymore. Thank God I put the pistol away, and ended up calling the VA to get some help. Luckily, another buddy called me shortly afterwards, and we spent about 6 hours or so on the phone, and we talked about things, and he kind of reminded me of why I served, why I wanted to join to begin with. To serve my country and to protect those that I love. And he said, your story is pretty powerful. He said, when you was in the government paid you, now that you're out, he said, look at it as like the VA is paying you to try to take care of our veterans, our brothers and our sisters that need help. He said, we're losing so many, at the time they were saying 22 a day. So we're losing so many a day, and if somebody doesn't do something about it, then it's going to keep on going. If we sit there and say, well, the and the government needs to do this and the VA needs to do that, then you're just going to keep on waiting around, and it's not going to go anywhere. There's not going to be any change. So he convinced me to write my story and get it published and get it out there. It's called The Human Cost of War, story Justin Miller. It's published online, and that kind of just blew up. He said was expecting 300 to 400 people to read it because of the length, and we ended up having over 1,000 readers in the first night. And we sat there and we just wanted to take that 6-hour phone call and blow it up, make it on a larger scale for everybody else. So we created the Objective Zero app, and that allows the whole military community, veterans, active family members, basically instantly and anonymously connect in a time of need by a touch of a button via voice, video, or text. So along this journey, I have, there's a lot of, life's a journey. There's a lot of ups and downs. So, you have your high points, you create this app and it's going, and you think you have the answer that's going to make a difference. And then, the support's not there. So then I started going back downhill and found myself being pretty tuned in by about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, almost on a daily basis, just trying to numb it away and just hope that things would just fall in place. Finally decided that, if I wanted to get my shit straight, that nobody was going to do it but me. And I made the decision to apply and go to Save a Warrior. That was in October of 2018. And that decision saved my life. If I didn't go to Save a Warrior, I wouldn't be here. I was spinning my wheels and I was making it nowhere.
Hey Justin, real quick, what is Save a Warrior?
Save a Warrior is it's a nonprofit that takes veterans and first responders that are suffering from PTSD, and it's like I think it's 3.5 days now, but they identify the root cause of your trauma. Most of us suffer from childhood trauma. The trauma that happened when we were younger stopped us from learning how to process the trauma. Then we go to combat, deal with all that trauma. We didn't learn how to process it then, so we just start pushing it away. And then we get back from the deployment. They tell us there's things wrong, and then we would be told by leadership, man, don't go to that appointment. That'll ruin your career. You go talk to them. You're done. You're going to be a civilian, kicked out, and that's it. So they would tell me, just go home and drink it away. And started off with just a few beers a night, and ended up to drinking a 18-pack to a case to bottles just to get to sleep. My first deployment, I was hit by multiple IEDs and left behind. And when I got left behind, I was the gunner, got hit by the IED, and they switched me out with the driver. Back then, gunners didn't carry M4s, so I had one magazine on me, and I had the driver's M4, so I had no more than 60 rounds, and I got left in the house. And when I came outside, I was walking into an alleyway of a bunch of pissed off Iraqis because we just raided some lady's house that we just put her husband in prison the week prior for setting up IEDs. So I struggled going out in public because when I came out of the house, they tried grabbing me, and I had to hit people with my weapon, in the chest, just shoving them away from me. And I don't know if you guys remember at the beginning of the war when the guy was beheaded live on TV. That was in May of 2004, and I got left behind in November. So you can kind of get an idea of what my nightmares were like, and the anxiety of people, grabbing me. So being in public, I would always, nobody could be behind me. Anybody came near me, I would just, I would be ready to, start throwing hands. Yeah, it just was pretty shitty, and I didn't know how to process it. I didn't know what to do. And, as a child, drinking was always there. My dad drank, he was an alcoholic. And that's how I knew how to process things. So when they told me just to drink it away, that sounded like a good idea. And then I found out I was deploying again, and I felt a sense of relief because I felt more comfortable in Iraq than I did at home. And did 15 months that tour with 212 Infantry, and that was in Baghdad. That was October 06 to January of 08. And that was also pretty rough because I was within the same unit. So I knew out of the 18 that we lost, I knew at least 15 of them pretty well. And about 5 of them were really, really good friends of mine. So I came back from that tour, and now I had my wife there waiting for me, and I had a son. And, I couldn't be around him. I thought that I was toxic. I'm like, man, my kids be better off without me around. Tried to push my wife away, hoping that she would, thinking that they were both better off if they would just have left. Because I just figured that I was going to ruin their lives, because I knew I was miserable and I didn't know how to cope with it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know why I was, other than the nightmares and the anxiety, but I didn't understand what was going on. So Save a Warrior just identified the root causes of my trauma. My trauma started at a young age, 4 years old, and it just got worse. My dad went to prison, in 89, 90 or so. And then in 4th grade, my best friend accidentally shot himself the night that I was supposed to spend the night at his house. 7th grade, uncle hung himself. So, it's just shit after shit. And all I knew was seeing my family members numb the pain. Nobody taught me how to process it. And my dad always told me, you want to cry, I'll give you something to cry about. So even when my best friend killed himself, I didn't cry. I didn't know, everybody else in the room's crying, and they look at me like, well, what's going on with you? And I just had a straight face. They're like, how are you feeling? I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. I don't know how I feel right now, because I didn't understand how to explain anything. And that just kind of traveled on into adulthood, because I joined the military to try to impress my dad, try to gain his approval. And it seemed like no matter what I did, I'd come back home hoping that he would have changed and he would have got his life together. And it's like every time I'd come home, nothing would change, except for, I'd come home to find out that more of my friends from back home were dead, because of all the drugs and alcohol and stuff that they were getting into. So it's like just more depression on top of depression. And, I just dealt with it until the Army told me that I was too broke to serve anymore. And they said they were medically retiring me, or putting me for the MEB. At first I was like, I'll fight it. Well, then when my brigade surgeon says, well, that's fine, I just mark you as non-deployable. The Army doesn't need you anymore. So you can either go up for retirement or you can take a severance pay. Out of all the things, the whole conversation, she said, all I heard was, you aren't deployable. The Army doesn't need you anymore. So in my mind, you're broke. You can't even go fight and die for your country because you're that messed up that we're tossing you out. So when I got out, it was just, I just plummeted my whole world. You know, I loved being in the Army. I loved the infantry. I loved freaking taking them little 17-year-old shitheads that didn't know what the heck they were doing and molding them into leaders. You know, it was a dream. And then I got to play with freaking guns all day, you know, all the time and blow shit up. What better job was there than that? And now I'm sitting at home as a civilian with nothing to do, like not even knowing where to go, because all I knew was from 18 on was infantry and combat, and that was it. So I knew how to party and I knew how to freaking fight, and that eventually started getting old. So Save Warrior just it helped me understand it all, helped me process it, helped me to be able to release, you know, a lot of the issues that I was dealing with. And it just taught me that it's a journey. It's not going to just happen overnight. But at the same time, if you want to see change, you know, you got to put in the work. You got to go through the steps. You got to do the process. You can't just sit at home with a bottle in one hand and a freaking bottle of pills in the other and just hope that everything just vanishes, because, you know, it's just still going to be there. You know, it might disappear for a night or so, but next day it's still going to be there. You know, the suck's still going to, the nightmares, the anxiety is still going to pop up. So yeah, that's what Save Warrior is. And it gave me my life back. It gave me my family back. And it's kept me alive. So now I'm part of a committee for Save Warrior. They have one of the guys there, his name's Delbert, who is airborne, but he's was medically retired out of Bragg, and he's riding his bicycle from Florida to California in the month of September to raise funds for Save a Warrior. Our goal is $500,000. That will send roughly 135, 140 guys through Save a Warrior. So need everybody's help, you know, save some of our brothers and sisters, give them their lives back and help them understand what's going on and help them learn how to process it all.
Oh, hey, Justin, that's thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very powerful.
That was powerful.
And
Yeah.
You know, you hit a couple of things that we talk about a lot on this show. And, you know, Joe says it. So he quoted the Book of Earl. I'll quote the trigger Joe. It's like, no veteran ever killed himself in a room full of his buddies. You know, so when, you know, when you were sitting there with that pistol and, you know, you called your buddy, that's, you know, that's pretty powerful stuff. And to put some validity, not that you really need it, to the way the healthcare providers were talking to you back in the day, I'm still active in the you know, the providers right now don't understand when I tell them how I was talked to in 2007. All right. They don't understand it. And I was like, I went in there, I failed that stupid test for TBI, right? I didn't put the right shapes in the right thing or whatever. So I had to go talk to somebody, a provider, and they were like, hey, look, do you want to stay in the Army or not? And I was like, well, yeah. And they're like, well, we'll just say that you have redeployment stress, you know, and so no care, you know, nothing. It was like, just move on. And so again, for those of you, I know the Gruntworks Nation probably understands this a lot more, but for those of you watching on YouTube, our family and friends, that's the way they talk to Justin. All right. That's the way they talk to me. That's the way they talk to Joe. All right. Everybody on here. All right. And so we've come a lot further than that, but that's
Nick, can I caveat off of what you're saying?
If it behoove everybody to listen. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
They didn't talk to me that way, Nick, because I didn't go.
Well, yeah, you were at a Big Fob, and so I know you talked about your rocket story for that landed about a click away from you. That was pretty exciting. So I know
that wasn't me. That wasn't
me.
I didn't do that. I was busy at the PX.
Don't talk about Syria, okay? Syria was way after that. Go ahead, Joe.
We've all had different experiences at the VA. Personally, but my message is one, you can't put the claims department and the healthcare department in the same bubble. Two totally different entities, two totally different objectives in my mind. Okay. As the people I've dealt with in the medical side have been saints, have worked with a shoestring budget and been overloaded with patients. And they've definitely, and Justin, to put some validity on what he said, they definitely saved my life, because I went through a period where I was horrible at dealing with and honestly, the thing for me, the biggest thing for me was separating from the military. And it's all of a sudden, what have I turned myself into? Because the rest of these freaking people look at me like they just let a freaking lion out of the gate at the zoo. And I can't talk to any of these people. And to actually assimilate yourself with the civilian culture takes freaking work. You've gotta realize what's going to be sustainable and what's going to put you in prison or in the grave, and separate the two if you want to have some quality of life. And I wanted to raise my kids. I got put in steel bracelets. I gave away time of my life because I thought drinking and driving really had no problem mixing together in my mind, because I didn't put any value on my own life. And it was selfish because I was a father at the time. But man, that's the kind of stuff I'll never forget, because that's what turned the corner. That and marrying the right woman, and because without her I would not be here. But your story is incredible. I commend you for not only having the guts to go there, but having the wherewithal to get some bad intel and say, no, that's not good enough. I want to work on myself. And even if you felt like you hit those low points, you're still here, which means you did the right thing at one point, and you did the right thing when it mattered. And to come back and say, my life, I've got quality of life, I fixed everything, wasn't good enough for you. You wanted to put skin in the game and pay it forward. It's what we preach. And I could not commend you more for what you're doing. It's awesome. I think it takes a lot of guts to say what you just said. So thank you.
Yeah. Amen to that. And before I transition to Dr. Vallis and Travis, give us some plugs again, where they can find your stuff. Where can they find that story you wrote, The Cost of War? Where can they find the organization and all that kind of stuff?
ObjectiveZero.org is our organization, or you can download the app Objective Zero for Apple or Android. And we actually have a new launched version for the web-based version for those older people that don't have smartphones. And for my story, if you just Google, it's on medium.com or strategybridge.com, and it's the human cost of war story of Justin Miller. And then saveawarrior.org. And to donate for FlowCal, just text FlowCal to 71777, and then go to our Facebook page and like that and share that, let people know. So
thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thanks, Justin.
Yeah, phenomenal, Justin. Phenomenal.
Yeah, we see Jill shared that link on the chat. So thanks, Jill, for doing that.
Thank you, Jill.
You're a true warrior, Justin. In all of its sense, we keep trying to say it to where we got to defeat the stigma that us war fighters, we're allowed to talk about it.
It's okay.
Yeah. And again, those of you watching, we don't have to prove ourselves. We're the real deal. We've all been in the thick of it. And we're all combat arms, and it's okay to say that I don't feel good right now. It's okay to say that, I see demons at night. And you said another really strong thing before I transition is, you said it was your fight. And we keep saying that it is, for those of you out there who are struggling, it's not anybody else's responsibility but your own to win the fight. Okay.
But we're right there with you.
You take that demon and you put it out there so that we can help you. All right.
Let's crush it together. Let's crush it together.
Every step of the way. If you're helping yourself, I'll never ask you to do something that I won't do for you in spades.
It's still your fight. And so appreciate you saying that and doing all that stuff. Like, again, true patriot. So now we'll transition to our next guest, Dr. Vallis. I think you were brought to my attention by old Bill Willie Pete Pearson.
Billy.
So he's he's a guest host that we don't pay. He's not allowed to drink 10th Mountain. So we kind of keep him on the wraps. But hey, welcome to the show. You've worked in the military community almost your whole career, I noticed. So I'm sure you'll explain that. And then you also brought Travis on the show, who's an officer. We won't hold that against him. But he plays with big bombs, so that's always sometimes exciting and sometimes not. So Dr. Vallis, Travis, welcome to the Trash Talk Hour. Talk a little bit about what you guys got going on.
Thank you.
Hey there.
So yes, it's true. I started my career at Fort Belvoir and worked there for a year, and then I did an internship at the VA in Hawaii, and then I did a PTSD postdoctoral fellowship at the VA in New Orleans, and then from there I went to the Marine Corps, and I was an embedded provider. So I was one of the only civilian providers in my company. And from there, I went to Brooke Army Medical, and that's when I started doing virtual behavioral health. So I had about 17 MTFs, so military treatment facilities, where I was providing therapy or command-directed behavioral health evaluations. So that was probably from Hunter Army Airfield on the east all the way to Fort Irwin on the west. So that was my area of operation. And then I went to Fort Irwin, and then I went to Fort Benning, and that is where I met Travis. And I thought it was a good idea to bring him on the show because one of the things that I really struggle to do is for a man like Justin, I struggle to be that provider that I can put myself in front of him as much as I can. So I'm always walking in the waiting rooms, or I'm walking in the hallways. I'm looking for that guy who's about to turn around and run the hell out of there. And I'm always trying to say, yeah, this is what a psychologist looks like. It's not the end of the world. It is hard. It's hard work, but there's a payoff at the end of it. I do know the journey. You know what happened to you. I understand how to get you back from that precipice to get you back to your current possible state of mental health, not the one when you were 16, not the one before you came in. That's unrealistic and not going to happen. But I know how to get you to your current state of optimum mental health, given what you were saying, Nick. You put in the work, you provide the discipline, and you decide that this is something you believe you can achieve. And so that's just the nature of me as a provider. And I wanted to bring Travis on because he's like so many other combat veterans that I've met who have had so many experiences and so many pieces of inexplicable loss where there's no provider there, or there's no place for them to, one, acknowledge that it happened, two, acknowledge that it fucked with them in ways they can't even describe, and three, have an opportunity to allow themselves to go through it. And a lot of guys have to go from provider to provider to provider to provider to provider. Unfortunately, that's the truth, because there's not a lot of people that go to the efforts of becoming specialized in PTSD, because you got to go and do that. You have to go and find that training. You have to pay for it. You have to learn what modalities are most efficacious. And so, you know, it's
nice word.
Nice word.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, can you spell that?
But
I don't think I've heard that word, precipice, and then fuck in the same story. So
I know that's no. Listen, I was.
That's really good, Dr. Vallis.
I love that.
Really good.
I did. I almost said that at one point. What kind of doctor are you? You say fuck?
Fuck.
Yes. What is going on?
I really want to congratulate him. And, just like you, Justin, I mean, it takes a lot to be doing your job, to be active duty every day, and to be fucked up, and to know that you need to get help and not know where to get it, and not have faith in the system. Because, yeah, there's a lot of reasons not to have faith in the system. There's a lot of great providers, and there's a lot of providers who aren't that great,
Hey, phenomenal. I'm going to cut you off real quick. I have a couple questions for you, just for the viewers and everything, because I think anybody can benefit from watching this. And obviously not going into HIPAA or anything, but maybe some techniques that you practice on individuals. That's, let's say, the nightmares that they're having, or the survivor's guilt, or just some things that you would practice with these patients in order to help them get through those issues. Maybe just drug addiction. Just hit on a couple of those things for the viewers and everything. Because
Doctor, before you start, Dave's not asking for viewers. He's asking for himself. His nightmares actually come from the whole new soccer league that just started. It's really upsetting him. He's from Europe, so he doesn't watch football. He watches football, but he's asking for himself. But that's okay. Sorry.
Okay. So
mainly asking for Nick, but it's all good.
So for nightmares, the first thing is, this isn't just one thing. That is part of a family of issues, right? So let's say you are, like a hard charger, combat veteran, and you've seen a lot of action. You've seen a lot of stuff. So the first thing I need to tell people is that when you go forward, when you volunteer, when you elect to do something more dangerous, right, than normal, you're going to be exposed to more. You're going to be exposed to more. And when you come back, your body is, number one, trying to keep you safe at all points. So the first thing your body's going to do if you have that kind of extreme exposure is going to say, oh shit, I want to keep this guy safe. So I better remind him, because when he's at Starbucks, he doesn't seem like he's remembering that the world isn't safe. Or when he's, about to fall asleep and he's relaxing, he doesn't seem to be reminded that the world isn't safe. So I better remind him. So that's part of a cluster of criteria in post-traumatic stress disorder, called reminders, right? So you'll have intrusive thoughts. You're doing nothing. You're just hanging out. It's quiet. Your mind brings in a scary image. Or you'll have a flashback, right? So flashback isn't voluntary. It's something that your mind does to say, remember, this was scary. You are not safe. It's trying to remind you, because it feels that you are just hanging out, trying to enjoy life, right? And then one of the other things in the class of reminders is nightmares. And because the brain is always active, and because it's always on, we might not be aware of this channel. This is the scary shit channel. We might be over here doing Motor Pool Monday, or doing something boring, or just something that I can do on autopilot all day long until it's 9, 10 o'clock for me to go to sleep. And this scary channel is still playing. So when I fall asleep, that nightmare comes up. And what that represents is, that is a memory that's still sitting in the queue. And when I say queue, I mean, hi, I'm waiting for you to acknowledge me, to grieve whoever you lost, to grieve whatever innocence you may have lost, and to allow for me to be an experience, meaning allow for me to be tragedy, for me to be sad, for me to be devastating, allow for this experience to be what it is, right? So what Justin was talking about was, I was taught by my family not to acknowledge when terrible things happen to me. I was taught not to acknowledge it, but to ignore it, right? So alcohol is legal and cheap and prevalent. And so I can ignore a lot of shit with alcohol. And it's okay, because my family's doing it. It's okay, because everyone in my unit is doing it. It's okay, because I see commercials for it all day long on TV, right?
Programming. So, yeah, it's programming. Yeah.
Right. So the nightmare is saying something to you like, hi, this is important. Like he said, he lost 15 men. That's important. That's 15 different lives that he has to grieve. That's 15 different lives that he has to, he has to have a conversation or a set of conversations with those people and decide how the relationship with those people will change, because they're no longer in physical form, right? And then those are 15 different people that he has to somehow reorganize within his psyche, within his heart, within the love that he feels for those men. He's got to reorganize all of that. And so the first thing that I would do with a nightmare is acknowledge that was a terrible thing that happened. And let's elicit some emotions or some feelings about what you feel when you think about that situation. But there's a process with nightmares called No More Nightmares. And it's established by someone that I met in the Navy. And what you do is you're looking at the content of the nightmare. So it goes from beginning, middle to end, and you're looking at all of that content. And usually people are going to wake up right before something terrifying happens or right as something really horrifying has happened. And what you do there is you continue that story. Because what your brain is doing is asking for the resolution. How does this terrifying thing end? So what you do is you create something just as extreme, just as elevated to end that story. So for instance, I had a guy who was trapped in an alley, and this is what he kept dreaming of. He was trapped in an alley. No one was near him. There were insurgents nearby. He didn't have any ammo. And he kept waking up at that point, right? And so we just created an ending for that story for him. So what needed to happen for him, right? And it had to be something that was just as terrifying and just as extreme, but it also had to be something that he felt would be an appropriate ending for that story, right?
Wow, interesting stuff. Yeah, I'm listening. I'm all ears.
Yeah, no, I've never heard it addressed that way, and I've had every pill that they had in the time for nightmares, and I stopped taking pills. I mean, I flat out stopped taking pills. So it was like, there's no way there's something that can control what's happening chemically. I just didn't believe in it, and it was 100% unsuccessful. So actually flipping that and putting physical work on it, or making it a muscle memory or something of that nature is I've just never heard that process. It's pretty incredible, especially if it's because I was actually doing it while you were talking about it. I was taking nightmares that I've had and being like, okay, let's see, and I could see where that would give you some sort of peaceful closure on it. Now, how would that feel if you were doing that exercise and you had that nightmare? I guess I'd know the first time, but it certainly seemed like it made sense to actually train your brain to get into that state when you have that memory. So it's not so terrifying.
Dr. Vallis, is there any type of drills you have to teach people not to talk with food in their mouth?
It's gum.
Well, what you're saying
They're called manners. Those are called manners. Those are taught at a very young age, hopefully.
What you're saying about training your brain is the brain doesn't know the difference between real and imaginary. It doesn't know the difference between this table that I'm sitting at and an imaginary table that I have. And so if you keep that in mind, and when I was working with that Marine, I was like, I am the kind of provider that's like very aggressive. I'm not going to just let you go. I didn't practice my no more nightmares this week. I'm going to sit you in session and have you practice again and again and again. So you're going to go through that memory with me 5, 6, 7 times from the beginning all the way till the new created ending that you've made, thereby rehearsing the story. So now it's becoming a memory. So now it's becoming something that is true to your brain, not just something that we've created in session. It's becoming, oh, that's the end of that story. It gets really, really rough in the middle. And then there's this scary piece. And then there's this piece where I'm left. And then suddenly around the corner, this happens. And then this, and then this. And then I'm on the C-130. And then I'm landing. And then I see my wife. You have to end the story.
Yeah, she answered my questions. That was phenomenal. I like that.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah,
Hey, so Travis, I've noticed you've reverted back to your lieutenant days where you be quiet until the NCO tells you to talk. But bring your story to the game here. Bring it to the fight. What do you got? What do you got going on?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me. I truly do appreciate the opportunity to pontificate, not as poignantly as Dr. Vallis, but I do feel that my story is one that I think that a lot of us share. I, like most young guys from poor white trash areas of North America, I knew that the military was the only thing that I was going to be good at. I got into almost every college in the area, scored incredibly high on the SATs and the ACTs. But, you know, I was that poor white trash kid that looked into the mobile home park with envy. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to go to college. So I went and took the ASFAB, scored incredibly high on it, was offered all these jobs for cryptic linguistics and satellite communications and all of these really cool things. And of course, me being me, I chose infantry. So I joined the Army as an infantryman. I was in basic training during 9/11. So I enlisted in June of 2001 and was finishing up the last portion of OSIT. Signed my contract on August of 2001 for the Old Guard, which is a non-deployable unit. So September 11th happened when I was finishing up airborne school at Fort Benning, Georgia. So I went to the Old Guard, got there in November, right off the bus. They shifted us to the Pentagon in support of Operation Noble Eagle. So we were separating body parts from the Pentagon rubble. So it was kind of like, hey, welcome to the Army. So that was kind of my first issue to where I had to deal with some stuff that I wasn't ready for. From there, I was a Presidential Guard and escort. There was 6 of us that got the security clearance to go work for President Bush. So I worked for President Bush for about 2.5 years as a Presidential Guard and escort. Was on the team that buried President Reagan. Did that job for a while. I was a casket team leader for these dignified remains transferred that started off really hot and heavy around April of 2003 with the invasion of Iraq. And I remember one of the moments where I really felt like a piece of garbage was when a C5 Galaxy lifter, most of the Army probably doesn't know what a C5 Galaxy lifter is, but it's basically something that could carry a football field inside of it. That's what it looks like. And there were 84 transfer cases in there with 84 flagged draped transfer cases. And there was all their personal bags on kicker box to the right and left of it. And I remember carrying these transfer cases off this bird. And I got about 30 transfer cases into it. And some of them were incredibly light because there's not much left. Some of them were incredibly heavy. And I remember saying to myself, God, this is BS. You know, and I really felt like such a pile of shit saying that in a non-deployable unit. So I did the first thing that anybody would do is I volunteered to, once my time was done, I volunteered to go to an operational unit, first one that was deploying. After graduating from sniper school, I went to the scout platoon for 164 Armor, which was the part of the new unit of action concept where your Alpha company was mechanized, Bravo company was light infantry. I was in Bravo company for a while and then went to the scout platoon and headquarters. We deployed at the end of 2004, you know, doing God's work. I was the only guy in my platoon to have an EIB. I, of course, wanted a CIB because all the other guys had came back from OAF1 with CIBs and a right shoulder patch. I wanted a CIB until I had to earn it. And then, buddy, I figured that it changed everything then. So I did that. It was a 13-month deployment from November of 2004 to January of 2006. After that, went to 1st Armored, 136 Infantry down there for a while, then went to 1st Brigade, 4th ID, did the whole infantry thing. I was a weapons squad leader during OAF 0709, so deployed from February of 08 to May of 09 to Baghdad. Did something stupid, got a medal. Then got back, was selected to be an infantry center instructor for young lieutenants. Did that, went to OCS, and then regretted everything after that.
What kind of stupid and what kind of?
I was about to ask. You just skipped right by that. You said you did something stupid, got a medal.
Gotta know.
No, it's so there was a there was an event that occurred with it's funny, it was with EOD. I was an infantry guy at the time. So we were in Al Shula because Bravo Company First, the 502nd, kept getting kicked out of their battle space in Al Shula in 2008. So of course, with us being, these straight leg, worthless infantrymen, they sure called us really quick with our Bradleys to come in and take care of the issue, because their pride and their creased jump blouses, apparently the enemy didn't care about that. So they called us in to be relevant. Unlike most of the airborne community since 1953.
Wait a second.
2001. Except the Operation Just Cause Panama 89.
Start the hornet's nest now.
You're right, though.
Yeah.
Except for every single war
that
the United States has fought since 1940. But yeah, irrelevant. It's kind of irrelevant still. But whatever.
Yeah,
Bradley.
Travis, the dumpster fire. Back to you, Travis. Back to you, brother.
Travis, continue.
I appreciate it. It's just I don't remember the last time that the president called on the 82nd to invade and overthrow a government, but I do remember the last 2 times that mechanized divisions have been used to do it.
They did in Haiti.
You mean
according to my kids, it happened once a day, Travis. According to my kids, it happened once a day. All right, so
anyway.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the capabilities of weak people that need to be in big vehicles. That's fine.
You're right.
We love it. We love it. We love it. So we love when the Bradleys show up. It's like, oh, that can help us. So
and it does.
Yeah, they do. They are nice.
So now that everyone's thrown their pride all over the table and you vomited all of your excess, so I'll get back to the question that was asked. So we got called up for a 4 to 10 day operation. So all of us had a rucksack and a bunch of socks and underwear because we're thinking there's no way we're going to be here that long. So we ended up being there about 37 days, and we had 18-hour shifts inside of sector for 37 days straight. So I got to the point to where, with 1 MRE a day and 1 bottle of water a day, it really grinded on you a lot. And the worst part about it was the 101st guys wouldn't go out in sector while we were there because that was just something that made sense to them. So I got tasked.
Yeah, they're not airborne either.
Yeah, right. So I got tasked as an E6 at the time to clear this little lot with a metal detector that probably most of the paratroopers used in Grenada in the early 80s. So this thing kept hitting on all this metallic stuff because it's Iraq and it's trash everywhere. So I finally got to the point to where we found something, heavy metal hit. I reached down and got there, and there were all these tubes that were covered in grease. So I went there and I cleared them out and got some of our guys out of the way. And the EOD got called in, and I worked with the EOD guys there to get that out of the way. And then once they left, starving to death, and I was thinking that I was done. Like I was just, there's no more. I hope this thing was going to blow up because I was done at that point. So I'm sitting in the back of his jerv, and it's emotional even to think about it this day because he had this sleeve of cookies in the back of his jerv, and I look at these cookies and he's asking me all these questions, and I start like shaking in the back of his jerv. And the jerv is the Joint EOD Rapid Response Vehicle. It's a huge truck, a lot of explosives in it, a lot of robotics, a lot of cool stuff. It's for people who actually want to challenge themselves other than Rangers who can just go 62 days without eating and running, slow. So we actually have to know what we're doing to be relevant in combat as bomb techs. So I remember him asking me if I wanted a cookie, and I started crying. And I said, no, I can't have a cookie because all of my guys can't have cookies, so I don't want to eat anything. And he handed me this package of cookies, and I remember I broke down, and that dude saved my life at that point. And long story short, he left. We got into a big firefight. I did what I was paid to do. I got a medal. I was put in for a Bronze Star. And I got it. And as a staff sergeant, that was something that was, you didn't see all that often. So went to OCS, knew that I was going to be branched infantry because what moron would make a former infantry E7 with all this time in combat, an ordnance officer, but that moron was the United States Army Officer Corps for the HRC. So I got branched ordnance, and I still don't know what an ordnance officer does. So I volunteered to go into the Special Operations EOD program, which is it's about a 62-week pipeline down at Eglin Air Force Base, and a couple of other training events that happen for EOD support to SOF. Graduated EOD school, went to an EOD company. About 80 days later, I was in southern and eastern Afghanistan working with Special Operations Forces, doing general support EOD stuff with them, primarily working with some SEAL teams and some Special Forces units as well as some other agencies and other military organizations as well. Did that 10-month deployment, came back. I was asked to, after that, write the protocol for using a Barrett 107 sniper rifle to interdict explosive devices. So for 6 weeks, I designed the SOP to do that for EOD. Is basically how we shoot bombs and other explosive devices and interdict them in a way that we get a favorable result. Did that, went to career course, commanded a geographically separated EOD unit in support to first group out at Yakima Training Center. After that, I was hand selected to work as a robotics research liaison for the autonomous vehicle program for the Army. So we worked for AI systems that were being used to be put into new vehicles, new next generation combat vehicles. And then I got a call saying that I've been on a short list for this thing called the SFAB. And long story short, I was the EOD officer in charge for the first SFAB, first EOD officer chosen in the Army's history to work in an SFAB, deployed to Afghanistan, did 10 months there, came back, was selected for my second command as a support company commander. After that, I did some work in Africa, did some work in Europe as an advisor with them. Came back and was selected for a third command. So I've been in command of a logistics advising company for the last 8 to 9 months, and literally just got back from Colombia, South America Monday. And I'm prepping to go to another country in South America in the next 6 months. So in the grand scheme of things, that's my 2-minute elevator speech that was a lot longer because you guys got your feelings hurt because I said something negative about it.
No, you knocked the wheels off.
That's fine.
Got it.
Yeah, Perry said on the chat, he said cue dumpster fire, but because that's what our logo is. It's a dumpster fire, so I don't see it right there. But anyways,
I like that.
I mean, not a huge
Doctor,
deal. I don't think anybody got their feelings hurt that you don't know what the word relevant means.
Yeah, trust me.
Not a big deal.
You're the guy that scored super high on your ASVAB and doesn't know what relevant means. But I don't know what half the words Dr. Val said means, but that's okay.
Not a huge deal,
Dr.
but
Val.
I don't know a single person.
Yes, sir.
Dave, you're a recruiter. Yeah. How many people have you ever had take the ASVAB where you didn't go, oh my God, bro, are you a genius? You scored super high. Even though they got
you should join the Army.
Yeah. He's calling wolf.
I don't do that. I don't do that.
Hey, Dr. Vallis, where can there's some people on the chat that are, they said this is really good stuff. Some Vietnam veterans, and what a lot of people don't understand, they don't read the stats is that's the most at risk generation right now for soldier suicide, veteran suicide is the Vietnam generation. Where can they find you? Where can they find what you do? And how can they get access to that?
Me or what I do?
What you?
Oh,
or
well,
anybody.
online. Just put Dr. Vallis on, Google, and I'll come up. Psychology Today, I'll come up. One of the reasons, though, that generation is at risk is because, and I'm so excited that we get to go to stigma now, is because they have probably more stigma brainwashing than any other generation, right? That was decades before Thank You for Your Service. That was when people were coming back and not eligible for jobs, being spat upon, not allowed to date or marry people because of their service. There was no VA program for PTSD because I think then it was still called like foxhole,
being a pussy.
Beaver. No, we just didn't have any concrete terms for it. And they were also very young. So there's the age, there's the culture of our country, there is the what happens when they come back. So they have all this shame, and unfortunately, shame is the glue that keeps PTSD together. One of the reasons people don't go to behavioral health, they don't pull up in that parking lot, they don't go up that elevator, they don't sit in that waiting room, is because they're ashamed. It's more than embarrassment. That is shame. Because if the feeling is there's something wrong with me, or I'm a broken toy,
yeah. Helplessness,
it's not, I'm not going to be repaired. So I'm ashamed. And that is the thing that's going to keep you at home, keep you drinking, keep you stuck in that sort of nightmare, that continuous loop of all the shit you've gone through. And that actually makes you helpless, because you become helpless to the memory of the trauma, the memory of the experience, versus like remembering the body is made to heal, remembering that other men and women have gone through this. Well, at that time, other men have gone through this. There are other cultures around the world that go to war and that come back with a re-entry plan. There are ceremonies, there are grieving processes, there are timeouts. You've come back. We're not just going to redeploy you 6 months later. There are communities and cultures around the world that consider not deploying, but the art of war a process which includes reentry, recovery, and repair.
Yeah, thanks. That's good stuff. Again, and it's free right now. But again, I'll keep it short. My Book of Earl, even though it's the most important thing on the show. But
humble.
And humble, so it's probably like you can learn a lot from it, but I'll keep it short because you already nailed a lot of it, but I can still throw my jabs out there. I was going to talk about something else, but Travis reminded me of something. And I appreciate the work you're doing with Travis, because I can see that he needs more. Because as we break through that mold of average, right? So when I was listening to Travis talk, I just kept hearing about how great he was and how smart, like he's going to be a linguist. He works with bombs. And then it was trash everybody else around you. And, so I understand that defensive mechanism that gets triggered in people when they're surrounded by paratroopers, Rangers, all right, Green Berets. Like it's a natural deflection. So is there anything that you have in your bag of tricks that you can give away for free besides the Book of Earl, which just tells you to build everybody else around you, because that'll just make you better? So is there anything in that bag of tricks that you got that can help Travis get over the fact that he isn't an airborne Ranger? And that I know he thinks he's okay with it, but I think we can see that he's not. So, is there anything you can do to help that?
Could I go somewhere else instead?
Sure. I'm full of shit.
I didn't get to answer the second.
We're just playing around here anyway.
I didn't get to answer the second question that Dave asked initially.
Yeah, we don't listen to him either.
I really wanted to talk about this particular protocol, which is EMDR, and that's what I did with him. And I wanted him to talk about it. If you would be okay with, sharing, if I could ask you some questions.
I just heard about that the other day for the first time, and I haven't gotten the scoop on it, so I'm muting.
Yeah. Okay. So it stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and it's different from if you've ever done cognitive behavioral, where your provider is like, "Here's your cognitive distortions. Here's your thoughts. Go home, write this down. When you get activated, use this piece of paper." Right. So that's very homework heavy. It's very cognitive. You have to have the paper and the pen with you. And so this is different from that. And if you wouldn't mind talking to them about it, my first kind of request is if you remember at all when I try to describe it to you, what you thought.
Yeah, and it's so truth in lending here. I'm pretty messed up physically when it comes to the neck up. Pretty bad TBI due to an explosion being expelled out of a Humvee. It crushed my left my eardrum, and then it detached my left retina for the optic and some optic nerve stuff. So I can't hear all that well. My left eye doesn't move as well as it needs to, so I look like the actor that did Debo. I look like him some of the times when I get tired. Just not as good looking. So
I was thinking of it all day. Thank you for reminding me. Debo. It's Debo. He looks like.
It is Debo. Yeah. Rest in peace, by the way. So I knew that's probably going to trigger some people too. So I do apologize. He's in heaven looking down on us with one good eye. But anyway, so she told me about this EMDR stuff, and I thought it was just another crock of shit. I'm just going to be honest with you, because I had seen no less than 9 different service providers for behavioral health before Dr. Vallis came and snagged me out of a waiting room right as I was about to quit. So she's like, hey, we've got this thing to where we're going to sit you down, but you have hearing aids, so you can't hear all that well. Plus your eyes all messed up and you look really stupid. So, and then the headphone things are going to mess up my EOD hair, which that's what we're all known for. So basically this thing, you sit down and you stare at this LED, and it just goes back and forth at a comfortable pace, at a medium pace, by the way. And then you hear the tick-tock in the ears, or your headphones. And it's a challenge for me because it made me sick the first couple of times I did it, and she had to adjust the tempo and the pace. And long story short is it helped me get rid of all the bullshit that was standing in between just accepting the fact that I was a bit more fucked up than the average bear, and then going to the point to where I actually have to accept responsibility for the shit that's going on inside of me, and realize that, as she said to me the very first time that we sit down, and she says, Travis, it's okay to be fucked up. Nobody that goes through the stuff that we go through can make it home without being a bit pear-shaped, as the Brits like to say. But yeah, and if you want me to, I can go into some of the things that we talked about, or if you want to hit on that.
Would you describe what it feels like? I'm glad that you talked about the ear, the eye, and the TBI stuff, because generally speaking, it's a bilateral process, and the point of it is to distract you with this calming mechanism, right? So any of you that have kids, you know that you can take them in the vehicle, and the rhythm of the tires, or put them on the dryer, and the rhythm of the drum, right? So the same thing is true with the bilateral stimulation. So we have a man here who we're trying to do this calming technique, which lowers his defense of, I got this, I'm not broken, I can manage it, right? That's lowering the defense, but you need the bilateral part. And so I'm using 3 modalities. You can use 1, but because he's, so fucked up, I'm using 3, right? 1 ear doesn't work. So I'm like, shit, okay. So we put these things on him, and I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. And then I do the light bar for him, and he's like, it's too fast, it's too fast, it's too fast, because he's only using 1 eye. So we got 1 ear being used, we got 1 eye being used, and then we got these tappers, which buzz like your phone does when it's on vibrate. But that's another way of getting the bilateral. So some kind of Frankenstein way, we're putting this whole thing together so he can get the bilateral part, the calming part, so that I can say, let's pull up that scary monster of a trauma, right? And then let's kind of like disembowel it. But he's doing it at such a disability, which really speaks volumes to you, because I know I heard you say you were nauseated, and I was like, it doesn't matter, we're going to keep going. If you vomit on the floor, they're going to clean it up, and we'll be back here tomorrow. So
hey, don't give many compliments right now. Keep putting them down.
But that's the thing. I mean, the reason I'm asking him to describe EMDR is because it's so violently upsetting that he's already coming into the part that's supposed to be calming.
He doesn't want to do
upset.
it. Yep, and he doesn't want to do it. Yeah.
His body's incapable because he's got this one that doesn't work and this one that doesn't work, right? And so his body's not able to engage in the calming part. It's already upsetting. And then I'm adding, let's talk about your trauma shit. Let's put some more upset on top of this physiological upset. So I was asking if you wouldn't mind describing what the process is like.
Yeah, so I sat down, and the LED bounces back and forth to the left, and then every about 60 to 120 seconds, Dr. Vallis would ask me about how do you feel right now? And it would keep going into longer and longer. And then her questions got more pointed. Where are you feeling this right now? How are you feeling it? Then we would talk about certain triggers for me, and talking about the nightmares. I think Justin alluded to these earlier, the nightmares that we had. I had a recurring nightmare. So as during my first deployment, we got hit by an IED, and we went into a house. I saw a dude with an AK there, and I killed him. And I didn't think anything of it. And then I was the cool guy for a while, because I popped my cherry. And then I get home, and for about 15 years straight, that guy came into my bedroom every single night, and he would watch me sleep. And that's all he would do. He would never do anything, and he would just watch me sleep. And it scared the shit out of me.
And you were watching him watch you in the dream?
Yep. Yeah. And it was...
Yeah, Joe, that's how dreams work.
Hey, relax, guy. I'm just trying to get the beats.
And it was scary to the point to where I didn't just watch him sleep. I could smell him. I could hear him. I could feel the heat from the fire for one of our trucks that was on fire. I could taste the acidity in my mouth, and I was there, and I had my M4, and I couldn't do anything, and I just watched this guy for 15 years. This happened, and then we would unpack that, and I would tell her about the story of this guy, and she would then ask, well, how does it make you feel that you pulled the trigger? And I said, I never had any issues with any of the combatants that I was, that I had to do my job with. And then she asked me a question that I wasn't ready for. And she goes, well, why is he there? And with the EMDR, I was able to answer it for the first time. He was there because I felt that what I did was wrong. Subconsciously, I felt that what I did was wrong. And another piece to that story is when we did the battle damage assessment and we pulled his AK away, he had an AK that had 5.56 rounds in it. Like, apparently he had killed a service member and took their ammunition, and this dumbass thought that they were going to work inside of his AK-47. So he couldn't hurt me anyway. And subconsciously, I felt that I killed this dude erroneously. I shouldn't have done it. And then with the EMDR, it allowed me to separate my subconscious mind with my emotional stigma of what I did being wrong. And, I remember crying like a baby after that, because I felt that weight had been just taken off of me, and it wasn't taken
sense
off
of relief
because
sense of relief.
Yeah, and it wasn't taken off me because Dr. Vallis is some amazing physician. It was just,
but I am.
It was she.
Yeah,
really
hey, she complimented you like 6 times. All right, so you can say something nice about her. It's okay.
Okay, so Dr. Vallis has really nice glasses, and that's what helped me.
Progress, right there.
We're getting there, but yeah, and that's the EMDR piece. Is that it's a long piece. I remember it was about 40 minutes each time, and it was one of those. It was like The Godfather, going in and watching The Godfather in 45-minute increments. So you feel great, you laugh, you have fun, you feel terrible, you feel scared, and it's all in that 45 minutes. At the end of it, you feel like you're absolutely emotionally and cognitively drained. But man, it made me feel good after it. And then every time that I would do something, I would gain this sense of accomplishment, that what I was doing was working. And here's the crazy thing. And so bald guy with a really cool beard that was talking with food in his mouth earlier.
Joe,
Joe.
He's probably packing a bowl right now, so he turned the camera off.
Probably is. And something that was amazing is
had to grab the charger, dude.
I was able to work through this. And then I was able to go to my psychiatrist and say, now that I'm working through this, I want to get off of these. I'm not kidding. The 27 fucking pills that they had me on. And I was like, I'm ready to slowly come off of these.
There you go.
And then, so I was
Heck
on.
yeah.
So I was on so much Effexor. I know that they told me the starting dose of Effexor for a service of my size was like 35 milligrams. I was on 175 milligrams a day. And then all of these other like max salt for headaches and some type of, I don't know, diazepam for motion sickness because I have balance issues. And then I couldn't, I had to take all of these pills to sexually perform, which, no veteran ever has stigma attached to that either, do they?
Yeah, right.
So all of these pills that they kept giving
Joe
me,
does.
But I think the long and the short of it is I started to feel a lot better about the process, and I started to do something with Dr. Vallis that I had never done, and I still don't do with any other provider. I started to trust her. And even though she's moved on to bigger and better things, I still will always have a place in her, in my heart, because she's the person that taught me that it's totally okay to be fucked up. And I truly appreciate that about her.
Dude, I love this. I love this, especially that you came on to
Getting
share
chills.
like your experience and everything and the way she treated you. So, I commend you for that as well. I mean, I love it. And for this type of treatment I've heard of it in the DoD, but is it widespread or is it, is it not so familiar to the DoD and more of a thing you go to after you get out of the military?
You know what? I got my 2-year certification in 2011. So I trained at the Naval Hospital Camp Pendleton, and they had a light box. They had the machine. We were ready to go. And then I went to other installations, and no one was really doing it with the with the contraptions. I would not say that it was widespread because it's not considered a DoD or VA evidence-based treatment. So with their evidence-based treatment, with all the research and the randomized controlled studies, they're doing cognitive processing therapy, prolonged exposure, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. And I'm trained in all of those. I mean, I did all the military training there is to have because this is my love. I love treating combat veterans. This is the thing that I think I'm good at. And this is the thing that needs to be treated. So I have all of those and chose EMDR because it's the most effective.
Most effective, right? It's a shame that it's not widely used then. That's just, like he was talking about the medication and all the stuff that's just thrown at you, instead of actually using the product that you're talking about that actually works and it's effective.
Well, the military is all focused on quantification. How can we quantify what we're doing to work? You've got a 240 on your shirt or a saw or whatever it is. I can't tell, but 240.
That's a 240.
It's a 240. ShopVeteranTrashTalk.com.
It's a 240. You wouldn't know that because all of your machine guns were attached to vehicles. We had to carry them. So
you could excuse me, adults.
And we jumped them out of airplanes too.
Go ahead, Travis. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. So you can quantify which gun team is better. You can quantify by their choice, by their shot ratios, by their distance, by their times, their barrel changes, all of that stuff. You can quantify which is better. How do you quantify a qualitative problem? Qualitative problems are behavioral health. How do you quantify how you can make veterans that are suffering from PTSD, prolonged exposure, survivor's guilt, which is all the stuff that I have? You can quantify it by throwing pills at their problems. That's how you can quantify it. And the
Which
Army's
is just masking the problem. It's just masking
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Hey, Travis. With that, I got a chance to plug a sponsor here. That's our main sponsor is Ventura Training and Athletics. They do muscle activation techniques, and they're phenomenal. And again, it's that whole thing about it's a complex system that's screwed up with veteran suicide. And we really can't stand when we see like on Facebook, this is why soldiers kill themselves. Okay, that might have been why that soldier killed himself. All right, but it's like it's an entire system. And what you brought up is why they have trouble getting into the DoD, because the DoD is a lot more about maintenance and then recovery as opposed to prevention. right? Can we actually prevent injuries? Is there anything we can implement into our behavioral health, into our, our master fitness trainers, that kind of stuff, to actually prevent injuries? And that's where I think that comes in, is what you're talking about, is how do we sell that? And that's exactly what I told my buddy who sponsors this. I'm like, you're going to have to sell it to them. They're going to want.
I think the answer to that is yes. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
But when I was texting Travis before the show, I was like, this is about suicide prevention. And one of the things that I feel is, what if you got issued a provider right as you joined? So, hey, you're going to go somewhere because you're an 11 Bravo. You're going to go somewhere and you're going to do some shit. And this is your provider.
Immediately,
Because,
right? Not issued to you
right,
after you're already having
right
issues. Amen.
At the beginning.
Yep.
Right. And so H2F is getting there. The new holistic force, it's close. And that's what we talk about with the muscle activation guys. If we could get one of them in every battalion, they could screen soldiers from the beginning and say, this guy has zero range of motion in his right hip. So if we don't strengthen it, it's going to turn into this problem. And we're going to spend a bunch of money fixing it. Right. So it's like, but that's not a quantitative thing, as Travis was talking about. So keep going, Dr. Vallis.
Well, the other piece is that the majority of the responsibility of the DoD is to fight and win wars. MedCom is a small, lucky piece that you just happen to have associated with the giant bureaucracy that is DoD. You just so happen to have MedCom. It's lucky that we have it. It can use some work. It can use definitely some funding and some hiring practices that will help people retain their careers and their positions. But the onus doesn't, I don't think, belong on some of the providers in the DoD, because the talk about being between a rock and a hard place there as well.
Agree.
I mean,
no, for sure. That's why we can't stand the people that come on our threads and are like, that's what's killing people. And it's
I mean, like, you're right about what you said. There's 5 different reasons for each different man, because he or she did what they did because they had it. But one of the things that I can speak to is, if ever I'm aligned to a company, I'm immediately in that health of the force meeting talking about, let me have them once every 2 weeks so I can do some leadership training. Psychological leadership is about the disciplined practice of things like deep diaphragmatic breathing. Why? A lot of people say, oh, breathing, that's bullshit, I don't want to do it. But deep diaphragmatic breathing done the way I teach it in the VA and in the DoD is the only way to get out of that hypervigilant, hyper-aroused, panic attack state of the limbic system, when maybe a cannon goes off, or you smell something like Travis said, or you hear something, or it's an anniversary time and your body floods with emotion and you have no cognitive ability to logically walk yourself away from that. When your body is flooded, if you have been practicing the deep diaphragmatic breathing techniques that I've been teaching for, 10 or 15 years, they're not my techniques. It's just that I've been teaching them for that long. When you use that technique, what does it do? It innervates the vagus nerve, which is the longest superhighway nerve in the body, which when you start breathing horizontally, not like this, not vertically, like in panic mode, but horizontally, the way babies breathe, and that nerve gets innervated, it's the thing that switches you off from fight, flight, or freeze to rest and digest. That's the way. That's the only physical way to do it. So if you got trained from the beginning in deep diaphragmatic breathing and focusing your mind and being focused on rhythmic breathing in the middle of chaos, in the middle of noise, in the middle of drama, you would be a little bit better at it by the time something real actually happened.
You'd be prepared. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Love it.
Perfect.
Love it.
Hey, so
Love it.
I know we'd love to have you guys on again, because it's
100%. We could devote 3 to 4
we
hours
could talk
on
for
this.
another couple hours on this, but unfortunately, Joe's battery's dying. I gotta take the girls. But hey, let's recap real quick. we figured out. I got good feedback from our recap last week. They liked the recap, so let's recap. Let's do an AAR. The recap is that paratrooper envy is real, and
real.
we witnessed that today, and
it's
and
present.
then also the dumpster fire. All right, veterantrashtalk.com. The dumpster fire is real because once you insult a paratrooper, it's a dumpster fire. So we saw two things. We saw paratrooper envy, and then we saw a dumpster fire.
And then Travis knocked the wheels off.
Yeah, we also learned that Justin is very patient. We learned
Justin, he's got the final words. Justin will close us out
Justin,
today.
you get the final words today.
Hey, we here at FloCal, we need your help. We're trying to raise $500,000 to save veterans and first responders' lives. So if you just text FloCal, FLOCAL, to 71777 to donate and help us save lives, or go to saveawarrior.org if you or a first responder need to get help. Objective0.org, or download our app, Objective Zero. Anybody can become an ambassador to volunteer to be able to be there to listen. If we want to fix this problem, it's going to take us. We can't just hope that it happens. We got to get rid of that shame. We got to get rid of that guilt, and we got to be willing to be open. So
awesome.
We got to do
awesome,
it.
Justin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep,
and Dave,
thank
before
you.
you close out, I got to give a shout out to my Cacti sniper team. All right. They didn't do that well, Duran, but you're a young guy in the Army. Come back, go next year, do better. Good job, Duran.
Hey, thanks, Justin. Thanks again, man.
Thanks,
commend
Dr.
you
Vallis. Thank you for everything.
I commend you for sharing your story earlier and really going deep into it. You'd be surprised how many people's lives you probably saved today just by sharing that amongst our community.
Absolutely.
Because that is what we are all about at Veteran Trash Talk. So thank you again. Amazing foundation that you're part of. Keep doing your thing. We're going to put all the plugs out and obviously support you. Dr. Vallis, we could have kept you on for about 3 more hours probably and talked a lot more about this. So we're definitely going to stay connected and have you back on. Travis, really appreciate you sharing the treatment that you received from her. Phenomenal stuff. We love you, man. Even though you're not airborne, you're still kind of cool. All right. And then Nick's saying so. And to everybody that's watching, hey, please subscribe to our YouTube. Okay. Go to veterantrashtalk.com. That's our homepage. It'll give you all the links to everything else. Shop.veterantrashtalk.com. All right. We got some amazing merch. Part of our proceeds go to Stop Soldier Suicide, who we're connected with. All right. Have a great weekend. I'm going to pour myself some 10th Mountain whiskey. Type in VTT, get a discount. Y'all have a good one. I'm out.
Where do we turn to, Veteran Trash Talk? Where do we turn to, Veteran Trash Talk? Where do we turn to, Veteran Trash Talk? Bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bravely every morning. One day I'm okay, next day darkness. One day I'm okay, next day darkness. One day I'm okay, next day darkness. Bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bravely every morning. Past is the past, so be forgiven. The past is the past, so be forgiven. The past is the past, so be forgiven. Bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bravely every morning. Let's fight, don't quit, call that in order. Let's fight, don't quit, call that in order. Let's night, don't quit, call that in order, bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises, bravely every morning. Raise a glass for those we're missing. Raise a glass for those we're missing. Raise a glass for those we're missing, bravely every morning. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises. Bad days, good days, up we rises, bravely every morning. That's what we do in veteran trash talk. That's what we do in veteran trash talk. That's what we do in veteran trash talk, bravely every morning.